Want to know more history? Then this is the podcast that you'll need. We teach all from long ago, based on a weekly schedule. Hype History Podcast Station is here to inform all of the nation. Welcome back, everyone. This is Araly Langomas
and Brianna Montanez on the
Hype History Podcast Station.
We're reporting live from Carteret Park in Carteret, New Jersey on May 29th, 2017.
So, Brianna, why don't you tell everyone what we're all about here on HHPS?
Sure thing, Araly. This is a weekly podcast station that airs every Friday. We teach people from all around about history, and we are a top recommended station for students by history professors from the entire nation. As for today, we'll be discussing Belgium during the age of imperialism, specifically the Congolese colonization.
Let's start from the beginning. How was Belgium even formed?
Well, after defeating France in 1814, a new United Kingdom of the Netherlands was created, in which all of this new land was required.
Oh, I remember now. And then it eventually split again during the Belgian Revolution, giving birth to 3 new nations: Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg.
Yeah, exactly.
Near the beginning of 1847, the power-hungry King Leopold II began developing a colony for him to directly control, right?
Yes, this colony was within the Congo region. Leopold sent Henry Morton Stanley, a journalist, to explore the Congo and make treaties with the native people. However, the native people of the Congo weren't completely conscious of their decision, as they were pressured by his agents, pretty much as gunpoint. They didn't want to compromise the safety of their civilians, so they just signed off in hopes to be left alone.
Did he actually need to colonize the Congo, though? I mean, what were they like before he even got there?
Before being colonized, the Congo was comprised of a kingdom called the Kingdom of Congo, and the people there made their livings very similarly to indigenous people as hunter-gatherers. They had an organized polytheistic religion that relied heavily upon spirits and gods.
But what made him decide to take over the Congo all the way in Africa?
Well, many European powers wanted the slice of the Africans' natural resources. The Berlin Conference of 1884 through 1885 formalized many of the major power claims in Africa and granted the Congo River Basin to King Leopold II of Belgium.
They can just give it away like that? How?
To clarify, they didn't just give it to him. However, they did give him permission to go and explore his options for taking over there.
So by explore his options, you mean just coaxing them into giving him their land and resources?
Yeah, kind of. Our expert source, Raoul Myers, says that after doing this, he named it the Congo Free State. However, the colony remained a personal possession of King Leopold II from 1885 until 1908, when it was taken over by the Belgian government and renamed the Belgian Congo.
So, although it was called the Congo Free State, it wasn't really free, was it?
Not really. He forced the Congolese people to slave over harvesting the resources he wanted while he gained the profits. It was like that until 1906, when it was repossessed in 1960. The territory was then known as the Belgian Congo, and while other Belgians were far less brutal than Leopold's agents had been, life for the Congolese under Belgian rule was still not good.
But why all the bother over Africa? Can't they get that stuff in their home country or just trade for it?
Well, the major exports from the Congo region included ivory, rubber, and precious metals, all of which were highly profitable and in great demand in Europe. To maximize the profitability, the interior regions of the Congo that could not be reached by river or in steamship were steadily opened up through the construction of railroads in order to make his profits increase. Shout out to Andrew Peterson for providing this information.
Hold up. Can you explain exactly how they forced so many people into doing what they wanted?
Well, you see, Leopold formed a group of Africans from the area, Belgians, and military leaders called Force Publique. This was also known as the public force, but I referred to them as Leopold's agents. They made sure that people collected their quotas of resources and were able to simmer their revolts down. In addition, the Congolese people didn't have any advanced weaponry besides spears and methods of archery, so guns overpowered their people easily.
Oh, I see. Since the people in the country had underdeveloped ways of doing things against an industrial nation with many advances in technology, they were toast. It would be like those movies where the humans have to battle aliens, but the aliens have better technology. Moving on, what would happen if they wouldn't listen to the king's agents, though?
He would send armies to steal the Congolese women and hold them hostage until their husbands had brought their quota of rubber. They were whipped or killed when their amount was not met. This time period was important because it led to the realization by many that Leopold was very cruel and greedy and was not a fit ruler, proven by his billion-dollar profits at the end of his rule. Also, the devastation was a large piece of the Congo's tragic history. That was when the Belgian Empire had to take over. He was giving himself and them a bad name.
What? Seriously? He was really that awful to them? All because he wanted money?
Yeah, he was very brutal. However, that money wasn't the only reason for him acting this way.
Huh? You're losing me here. Please explain.
Money was the main reason for all of this, but it wasn't the only one. Other factors included social Darwinism ideals, promoting Christianity, and paternalism. There were so many opportunities for him that he didn't want to squander his chance at, the riches he could attain. In Leopold II's words, "I don't want to miss a good chance of us getting a slice of the magnificent African cake."
Slow down. What's social Darwinism?
Social Darwinism is the idea that in a society, only the fit will survive. In this case, the people in Belgium thought that they were more fit than those in Africa. This made them believe that what they were doing was right and totally in line.
Whoa, so you're telling me that since they thought they were better, it justified them kidnapping people's wives for societies to meet quotas?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's barbaric.
You can say that twice. Anyway, earlier you also mentioned paternalism. What is that?
Basically, the Belgians felt like it was their job to turn African tribes into quote-unquote civilized white people. They ended up treating them like children and raising them as if they were children. This just ended up being another justification method for the horrors they put the Congolese people through. Think about it. You wouldn't exactly point a gun at your son and tell him to kill his friends that don't want to listen to your orders.
Yeesh. That's tough. It makes me feel bad for those Africans.
Me too. In fact, they also felt bad for themselves and decided to fight back. In 1960, the Congolese began to rebel against the Prime Minister Lumumba for the harm he had done in the Congo. The rebellion that had started in Thisville quickly spread to the rest of the Congo.
I remember learning about that. He was later brutally murdered for his actions. This bad ruling led to the granted sovereignty of the Congo. June 30th, 1960, was the day the Congolese gained formal independence from Belgium.
That's correct. The independence didn't hold, though. It only set the stage for a deeper struggle to gain economic independence. The struggle drove a divide between the Congolese. Some wanted complete independence, and others wanted to remain a capitalist society.
At the end of World War I, didn't Belgium also accept the League of Nations mandate of 1916 to govern Rwanda as the territory Rwanda-Urundi?
Under the Treaty of Versailles, the former German colony of Rwanda-Urundi is made of a League of Nations protectorate to be governed by Belgium. The two territories, later to become Rwanda and Burundi separately, are administered separately under two different Tutsi monarchs. Both Germany and Belgium turned the traditional Hutu-Tutsi relationship into a class system. The minority Tutsi, 14% of the population, are favored over the Hutus, which made up 85%, and were given privileges and Western-style educations. The Belgians used the Tutsi minority to enforce their rule.
What was the difference between them?
Basically, the Tutsis were upper-class society and Hutus were the working class. However, before colonizing, they fraternized often and got along a lot better than the class system in Europe.
So what happened?
According to one of our expert sources, BBC News, when the Belgians arrived, they saw the Tutsis and thought they were clearly superior because of their European features. The thinner figures, angular faces, and obvious wealth. When they saw the Hutus, they looked more foreign and had ethnic features, including broader faces, more accentuated features, and etc. And they said they were clearly lesser valued than Tutsis. This implemented social Darwinism and increased the class struggle between them. Regardless of their differences, they were both viewed as animalistic in nature. In the words of Henry Morton Stanley, the more experience and insight I obtain into the human nature, the more convinced I do become that the greater portion of man is purely animal.
What made the Belgians leave?
Well, it all started with the Belgians' educational policies. Unlike early 20th century colonial powers in Africa, Belgium did not directly oversee the education of the Congo's indigenous population. However, it turned responsibility for education over to missionaries. In 1908, the Congo had 587 missionaries, mostly Catholic, who educated only 46,075 students, a very small fraction of the many residents.
Oh yeah. Our expert sources say that this small number of students stemmed from many factors. Alexandra M. Lord, PhD, founder of the Ultimate History Project, specifically states, the number of missionaries was insufficient to educate a large population, but the missionaries' educational agenda, which often undermined indigenous African culture and promoted colonial domination, also deterred many Africans from pursuing European educations.
Nice use of sources. You said Alexandra M. Lord has a PhD? You heard that, ladies and gentlemen. This stuff is credible.
Furthermore, throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the primary role of the church, both in religion and education, was to promote colonialism. Many Congolese villagers must have at first avoided the mission schools because they had a religious agenda that threatened to undermine their cultural values and beliefs.
I mean, I'd be apprehensive too if my school was run by religious officials I'm not a part of.
Yup, that sounds totally horrendous.
Anyway, with the Congo, Belgium not only took less active role in education, it also used Catholic missionaries as a form of civil servants who were paid by the government. Ironically, Belgium's hands-off policy toward education was their biggest downfall.
Since that was the main characteristic of Belgian colonial policies overall, it reflected the government's reluctance in being a colonial power.
Yeah, so in other words, the government had only agreed to take over the Congo to save its king from public humiliation and outcry of international community, which had been horrified by Leopold's brutal policies.
Are you saying that they really just went through all that trouble to save their king from being gossiped about, colonized a whole nation, and then cleared out when they realized they have to maintain the citizens of that community?
Quite literally, yes. They basically proved the point in that poem, White Man's Burden.
What happened after they just picked up and left them there?
Well, in 1965, a former army sergeant and journalist named Joseph Mobutu staged a coup and seized control of the government. Now, he turned out to be a terrible leader, but in his first decade in charge, he did some good stuff. On a separate note, I would like to give a shout out to Britannica.com for providing this information.
Really? Like what?
For instance, from 1965 to 1975, Mobutu was able to build the economy based on this huge copper boom. And then he destroyed the economy by appropriating most of the local businesses and turning them over to his cronies.
Didn't he also build the first hydroelectric dam in the region as well as hospitals and, like, a state television system that could broadcast national pageantry that celebrated Mobutu and his family?
Yep. And Mobutu also changed the name of the country from Congo to Zaire in 1971. And he changed the names of many colonial cities, like Leopoldville became Kinshasa, and Stanleyville became Kinsangani. Elizabethville became Lubumbashi.
So, initially, his coup was probably seen as a positive by many Congolese, but pretty early on, it became clear that this wasn't going to be like a peaceful, open government.
Yeah, exactly. And Mobutu Zaire was also, really corrupt. The underlying source of Mobutu's power was for his ability to grant favors for his friends, a strategy known as clientelism. And Mobutu was great at it. In order to keep his friends happy, Mobutu raided the national treasury again and again. He actually stymied the development of the country in order to get more foreign aid, which he actually used as an alternative source of income.
What happened with Rwanda when the Belgians left?
With the help of the CIA's World Factbook page, I was able to find out that after gaining independence, the Hutus reaffirmed control in the 1990s. That's when the RPF, which stands for Rwandan Patriotic Front, which is a Tutsi-sponsored militia from Uganda, invaded Rwanda and the civil war broke out. Between 1990 and 1994, approximately 20,000 people were killed, and 1.5 million were displaced in the conflict. And then, in 1994, the man who stood as Rwanda's Hutu president was shot down. And Rwandan Hutus began murdering Rwandan Tutsis, killing between 800,000 and 1 million people in 3 months. The result was a massive genocide that killed about 1 million Tutsis and nearly 500,000 Hutus, who did not support the civil war. Rwanda has yet to really recover from this.
So, to summarize, since the Hutus were in control and the Tutsis wanted their possessions back, they invaded their old territory and caused a civil war in which no one won, and the country has been left in a state of disarray since.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I suppose what we learn from the people of Belgium and from the people of the aforementioned African lands is that we, as a whole of humanity, should learn from our mistakes, that the events that took place in the Congo were the results of petty spending and greed. The insurmountable war that took place afterward was the result of social Darwinism, a learned behavior.
But what we should take from this lesson in history most of all is that in order to achieve prosperity, we have to stand as a united front against societal pressures, and sometimes even our worst fears. Thanks for tuning in.
Wait, before we go, we would like to give credit to where we got our information from.
Oh, right. Even though many have already been listed earlier during this podcast, here they are.
Raoul Mayer, a retired history teacher from Indianapolis who now writes the scripts for Crash Course, an informational YouTube channel.
Alexandra M. Lord, PhD, founder of The Ultimate History Project.
Andrew Peterson from Study.com and the author of History of the Belgian Congo, Imperialism, Genocide, and Atrocities. He has a PhD and master's degree in world history.
Republic of the Congo profile on bbcnews.com.
Democratic Republican of Congo profile timeline on bbcnews.com.
The World Factbook and Democratic Republic of the Congo on the CIA.gov.
Renee Lamarche, Bernard, Michael Weiss, Nitsomo Payanzo, and Denise D. Cordell, which are the authors of the article Democratic Republic of the Congo DRC on Britannica.com.
See you next Friday on Hype History Podcast Station. This is Araly Langomas and Brianna Montanez signing off.